Hey guys, welcome to the Living Proof Recovery Podcast. We're your host. I'm Evan. This is Brian. Tonight we have Allie here with us. She's going to be going into her experience, strength, and hope with you guys. So, with that said, we'll go ahead and kick it over to her to introduce herself.
Hey everybody, my name's Allie. I'm alcoholic. I have the disease of addiction. I just celebrated 4 years on July 12th.
Woo!
Yeah, after 35 years of using, drinking, burning my life to the ground. um, I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I was born and raised there, but I've lived in Kentucky for about 29 years, off and on. Just go, go to Texas, come back, go to Texas, come back. But I've been here this time about 29 years.
So when you say you go to Texas and come back, is that in your experience were you trying, is that like a geographical cure?
Absolutely.
Yeah, those don't work too well.
Running from myself.
Yeah, I tried to one in Texas too. It didn't work. I don't know if it's Texas or just the fact that they don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we take
sure.
us with us
Yes,
wherever we go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so.
So, what brought you to Kentucky originally?
Well, I was pregnant with my first daughter, and I was married to their father, and just in a real abusive relationship. And I thought, well, I'll just go where my mom was here.
Okay.
Yeah, her boyfriend at the time was building the Target store in Elizabethtown, so I just packed her up and came here and had the baby and went to college, and did well for a little bit, and then started drinking again.
So we wanted to have you come on here for a couple reasons. I had one reason, and Evan had mentioned a reason. We were both at your 4-year celebration, and we left, or after the meeting, and he called me. And he had already asked you to do it, but there was something that he had picked up on there, and your daughter was there. You had family there, and he was talking about the look on your daughter's face, just how happy she was that she's got her mom in her life. Do you want to talk on that a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll probably get emotional about it. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
I did when in the meeting. That's why I called Brian. I said, "Man, like I was tearing up over there, because I just saw. I was like, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
I was like, it was amazing,
Yeah, that little girl, that's my youngest daughter that you're speaking about.
She's how old?
She is 26.
Okay.
She just turned 26. And my son was there too. He's 18. Yeah, Roxanne, like she hated me. She gave up on me. She would tell her sisters, like, I don't know what y'all see in that girl. She's dead to me. That woman, I'm done. And, just in and out of her life, in and out of her life. My mom raised her pretty much. Yeah, we didn't have a relationship at all. Like it was bad. It was bad. I was not able to, when all my kids, I have 4 kids, and all my kids were in high school. They were, I couldn't hide it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just like, did this intervention thing, and said, hey, look, it's either us or the drugs. And, in my heart of hearts, of course, I didn't want to do what I was doing.
Right.
And, looking back in hindsight, I probably tried. I don't know if I was done. Obviously I wasn't, but, I did try to appease them, but that is a power that overrode every instinct I ever had, especially, just took it away from me. And,
they say that, I've heard this a lot in my life. A lot of people, I've heard a lot of people in my family say this, that people don't change. Leopard can't change its spots. That's what I've always heard. And that's such bullshit, because if I went from being a pretty good person to a drug addict, an alcoholic, then I can change, obviously. So when people say that, it's like they believe that people can only change for the worse.
Mhm.
But you have shown that we can change, for the better, and that we can get some of these things back in our life. So like, how is your relationship with her today?
I really wanted her to come so she could answer that,
Right.
truthfully, because I'm sure we see things a little different.
Mhm.
Is it perfect? Absolutely not. I do know that I keep my word. I show up when I say I'm going to show up. She has a little boy. All my kids have children that love their granny, and that's the best thing in the whole wide world. It's like a second chance,
Mhm.
to give those little kids what I wasn't able to give the girls and my son. But yeah, man, she's my best friend. We talk daily. She helps me budget. Because she's like the adult that I was never. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Have a son like that. Yeah.
I learned a lot from her, and she's been working since she was 14. All of them have, and it's really cool to be accepted by them. It took a lot of work, though. I'm not gonna lie. It took a lot of work. That I was terrified. Because in recovery, or I hear a lot of women, especially that I work with. Well, I want my kids back, and I want this, and I just want that, and I did too. And then when I got it back, I was scared shitless. I didn't know what the hell to do. I was never.
How do I keep it?
Yeah. How do I face this? What
Yeah.
what do I do? What do I say? How do I? It was so weird, so uncomfortable. Um,
A lot of how do I
Yeah.
in recovery. A lot of how do I do this? How do I budget? How do I be an adult? How do I
Show
be a
me.
parent?
Yeah.
How do I?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that shows that your ego's not out of control. Because if it was, you wouldn't be asking those questions. You're like, I got this shit.
Yeah.
And that's trouble.
So I think that sets up for a good spot here. So how do I? So how did you get started from your rock bottom to what brought you into treatment? Like what was that like? Were you
Like
forced?
the
Did you go to
surrender?
treatment? Did you
Okay.
do it on your own? Did you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I tried that on my own thing. That don't work. Yeah, I could never get, like, I think a week at a time. But it was always, I had to have some sort of substance. It just never worked out. So this time I got arrested. I mean, I've always been in and out of jail like my whole life, but I never had a drug charge, never had a felony, in that sense. And so, I mean, I can tell you all the story. I fell asleep in a car, a running car, in a parking lot, and I just woke up to the police getting me out, and for the first time in my life, I did not fight them. I just told them what they wanted. Where's the drugs? Right there. Where's this? Right there. And I put my hands behind my back, and I was just like, let's go. I was so sick of it, and I think I had been packed actually for rehab for 2 years, and that's no lie. Like Joe at work used to say, Allie, tell that story, dude. And I had a suitcase that I lived out because I was really going to go the next day, the next day, the next day.
Mhm.
And I would just get my clothes out and then put them back in. Well, that day, that day never came. And I got arrested. Thank God. Like,
It was
thank God.
God doing for
I'm
you,
telling you.
you know.
What you can do for yourself. Yeah.
I had to be stopped. Let me say that. I had to be stopped.
So did you go from, I don't know how long you were in jail at that time, but did you go from jail to treatment or did you just go straight into meetings and 12-step program? Like how did that look?
No, well, I spent one day in jail, which was weird because I guess, I never had a drug charge. So they let me out of my OR, and I was just like, what am I going to do? I had to call in every day for some kind of number. And
Yeah.
if they called my number, I was going to have to go take a urine test.
Mhm.
And I had a bunch of drugs at my house. And, like that battle alone, that was torture, like absolute torture. Anyway, I would remember sitting there, using against my will, crying, knowing I had to call in the next day, but I still could not stop. What am I going to do? I ended up running, and I had a really good lawyer, but I ran, and I just finally just surrendered. I went to treatment, like on my court date. And I'm telling you what, I did not care what they said to do. I was going to do it. That's the surrender that I remember, just looking around me in the rehab and how everybody was struggling. And I see it where I work too, I see where I was, and that was such a good place to be because it worked. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care what I had to do. I let go of the kids, thinking what I could do. I let go. My mom was sick. My boyfriend took my car. I just didn't care. I wanted to stop.
So you said a key word, you said 3 times there, which is surrender, right? So there's 2 surrenders that if we make, that we have a really good shot at permanent sobriety. If we only do one of them, it's like 50-50, right? It's not a very good chance if we do one of them. The first one is necessary. It's the act of surrender. Like I'm done, right? I give up. Take it, like you said, just take this, take that. I'm done. I'll do whatever you say, right? And the second one, the longer lasting one, is the state of surrender, right? Is that daily. That's what people with 30, 40 years, they understand that state of surrender. It's not just the one time I'm done. It's, I know I can't do that shit anymore. Like, that's not even part of my life. Like, I can't go down that road. Now, I'm not saying it in a way of like, I know I can't, so I won't, because that self-knowledge doesn't really help us. But living in a state of surrender is different than that first act of surrender. And that's something that we kind of develop through the process of doing the work. You mentioned, so you work in recovery, and that's a great reminder on a daily basis of what's waiting out there if you don't stay sober. So, and I mentioned earlier, there was 2 reasons why we wanted to have you on, right? And the second one was, because I know that you do this thing, right? I know personally that you do, because we had a friend pass, a little while back, and I texted you, or you had texted me. I don't remember how it went, but it was like asking, have you heard or whatever. And, we kind of went over it or whatever. But the very first thing that you said was, yeah, I was sponsoring her. It's unfortunate, but I got me 2 more. I got 2 new ones. I got them in my back pocket or something like that, along those lines. And I was like, hell yeah. I was like, that's what this is about. It's like, you weren't hanging your head. I'm sure you were sad, but it was like, there's still people that need help. And I admire that, because not many of us do that, So what's your experience been like with sponsoring women?
Oh my gosh, it's just an amazing. I don't even know how to describe it. I think there's so much freedom, and the 9th step for me was complete blow my mind freedom, and then the 12th step is like I live for it. I look for them now, like you taught me that too, Brett. I'm not gonna lie, at that step study. So I look for them. I got one to come yesterday. Because that is me.
Yeah.
And I know how bad we need each other. We got to stay connected. We need people. And I was scaredy cat. I'm still scaredy cat, but I have a little bit of practice of going against that now. And, the young people or the newcomers don't. And I know how debilitating that can be, because we listen to our own self. Like, I don't need to go. I don't need to talk to people. Yeah, you do. So I just want to jump in there and get them and like tell them we love them and welcome, just like people did to me.
Yeah, and we need more of that. We do.
We're losing the battle.
We've talked about it before. It's like, we can't sit around and wait for newcomers to come to us. We have to get out there and, basically tell them like, hey, I'll sponsor you right now.
Yeah.
It don't have to be forever, but let's get you going. We need more of that. So to see you, and that's how you approach it as well. Like, that's awesome. So.
Yeah. I love it.
And there's no, it's like a high.
It is.
Like, you can't explain it, but like, I know me and Brian have talked about it. Like, we get high off of that shit. Like, seeing the light come on in someone else's eyes and seeing their life change, in such a short period of time, if they're willing to put in the work, like, that's a feeling that heroin and alcohol, none of it gave me, and that's what I look for. So,
yeah. And I think that, and I think I've said this in our first episode, that so many people are missing out on that. They don't realize what they're missing out on. And you don't know until you've done it. It's just like anything else in life. If you don't do it, or if you haven't done it, you can't possibly understand the power of it. And that's what keeps us sober, is going out and carrying the message to other alcoholics and drug addicts. And like you said, I live for it. Like, I love it. Like, I've got a guy who's so, as long as he keeps doing what he's been doing, he'll have a year next month. And it's just like, dude, where's the time go?
Yeah.
And his life's great, and all he did was just follow some instructions. That's all he did. It wasn't like, we're going to reinvent the wheel, and I've got the special manual over here with stuff for you. It's just like, just do this, man. And he was like, that's it. You just do that. And he was like, okay. And now just do this. And he was like, okay.
Yeah.
And he did it. And ever since, he's just been kicking ass. It's a beautiful thing.
It really is.
So how important is it for you? So, as far as you're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's the program, and then there's the fellowship. Who's your sponsor?
Christina.
Christina. Okay.
Okay.
So I know you're a part of this women's group, right? Don't you go to? Do you go to Rebecca's for the women's group?
Yeah. When she does it.
Yeah. Okay.
We just had a paint party not too long ago.
Right. So, how important is it for you? Because I know that your group of women that you're involved with, I know you all are all really close. So, what's that look like for you?
I mean, that particular tribe changed so much for me, because Allie just I can complicate cornflakes, and I'll find myself just rolling back. I don't really need to do that, but the way they welcomed me, and just the step studies, and like doing paint parties and bonfires, and I didn't know what I was missing. I did not know. And I'm able to give that to my sponsees. Like, we do a literature study on Monday nights. We do a step study on Tuesday nights. I was able to learn from them and stay connected. Like, it's the best feeling, man. I just want to get back. And it really, getting with Rebecca and Christina and just the whole group, how they show me how to show up. Like, we all go support this one celebrating. We all do speaking events for, different of the girls. We have a chat, that it's just, man, it's just real. It's real. And we do this, like, I know Rebecca had said it last time, we do the 4Gs in there. Something good we do for somebody else, a glitch, something we're working on. Goal is usually how to work on the glitch. And then something we're grateful for. And, I think that's really centering for me, because it makes me make sure I do something for someone every single day. Even though I don't have to tell anybody, we just tell ourselves. But just, I don't even know how to say the word camaraderie or
Camaraderie.
that word. Yeah, that with a bunch of women is fantastic. I've never experienced that in my life. I've always, either hated women or, trying to steal their boyfriends or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It was always a dog eat dog. And this is a really new experience for me. And like I said, I'm able to draw other women in and just put them in there. Like, the young lady that died, she went to the paint party, and we just had a potluck and just hung out, and it's just really cool. That's really changed my life. It's really opened up my heart and my eyes of how I see people, women. I just want more of it. Let me just say that, more.
Yeah, because it's so important to. And that was the reason I brought that up, because I know you are involved in both, and I know for me, my first experience with AA started in 2012. And I would put time together and go back, and then I would put some time together and go back, and it was just this cycle. Like, AA's not working for me. It's not working, but really it's because it was always one or the other, right? It was, I might have a sponsor at this time, and I'm working the steps, and I would even have some sponsees at certain times, but then I lacked in the fellowship side of it. And then the next time I would come back around, I would be all in the fellowship, but not really in the program, and it wasn't until over this last 3.5 years, whatever, a little over 3.5 years now, that I've experienced being in both at the same time. And it has completely changed my life and my outlook on everything. And because we have men's group, just like you all with your women, with Tony's my sponsor. So it's, at their house, just like your all's is. And I know how good that's been for me
Mm-hmm.
and my sobriety and just my overall mental, that I have this group of men that I can rely on
Yeah.
and they can count on me,
Yep.
and we all know that. And it's just so important. So I love that you're involved in both aspects of the program.
So that kind of sparked something in my head that you were talking about, and it kind of leads to emotional sobriety. So early on, job number one is don't put anything in my body. Drugs, alcohol, like very early on, like I just can't do that. But that after that phase, which hopefully isn't very long, because I start to get some recovery,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that's not too long. But then it goes to this is about so much more than not drinking or
Mm-hmm.
not using. Like that's just a very small piece of it. Like that's just the beginning of it. And I think a lot of people sell themselves short because that's all they focus on is just not drinking, not using. And kind of what you were talking about earlier is we try to tap into this power,
Mm.
right? That's greater than us. And when we do that, that power is for us for so much more than just not drinking. It's to have healthy relationships. It's to experience friendship. It's to get creative in our life, whether it's art, music, something like this, all kinds of different things. It's like we have all this power that's available to us now. So when you hear the term emotional sobriety, like what does that mean? Or like how have you experienced
Okay.
emotional sobriety?
I'm so glad you asked this because I'm going to be truthful. I don't know what the hell that is.
Okay.
I mean, I hear people talk about it. So I don't know. I don't really know if I have emotional sobriety. What does that mean?
Okay.
How do I respond when somebody steps on my landmine, my toes,
Sure.
So
It's part of it.
I can,
Depends on who it is, I reckon.
for me, the easiest way to answer that, because that is something that I have experienced this go around, right?
Okay.
Is the emotional sobriety. And I can give credit where credit is due. And I've learned all about that not in AA. I got real heavy into refuge recovery at one point, and that was huge. It went so deep into so many different things and it goes hand in hand with AA. It really, Brian's been involved with it as well. Um, but it really got me in tune with the more of the emotional side of things. I don't know if it did that for you.
For sure.
I've never heard of it.
But it really, it's awesome. Um, and it brought me back closer to AA as well when I did that. But for me, the emotional sobriety is just, I know men and women are two different creatures, right? But for me, like, just the simplest way to even an example is I was always like a hothead.
Mm-hmm.
I could flip a switch and be triggered in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
But through refuge, it taught me all about how to control that. So how to pause and think before I'm gonna say something and I'm not perfect at it. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I am.
Don't be modest, bro. You're perfect.
Fuck it, ask my wife.
Right.
But just the simple things that used to, like Tony all the time. He's like, man, you're so chill. Like, how you're so chill. And I'm like, yeah, but if you knew me
Mm-hmm.
several years ago, you wouldn't want to really be in the same room with me.
Yeah.
Because it's taught me how to, like, it takes a lot to really get me worked up nowadays.
Yeah.
I can kind of just roll with things and not let it affect me emotionally like it used to in the past. And that was honestly, it was because of everything through refuge that we did. And we worked on actions and, wise actions, wise intentions, wise speech, all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to practice it
Impermanence.
in permanence, that nothing in this life is permanent. Everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
This
No
too
matter
shall
what it is,
pass.
relationships, feelings, everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So all that stuff together, it was so powerful, and it helped me so much with the emotional state to where I'm not running just on emotions all the time. And my wife gets irritated sometimes too because it's
Why
so
are you
much.
angry?
Yeah, she's like, "Why aren't you angry?" I'm like, "Man, because like, why? I don't want to live like that anymore." And it's almost like I've trained myself over the last few years to be that way as well.
Mhm.
It's just been a practice over and over again. But I will always. I haven't been to a refuge meeting in
Haven't been in years.
probably 2 years at least, a year and a half. But I would always recommend, like, I have a refuge book. If you want to borrow it, I will
Check it
let you read it.
Mhm.
It will open your eyes
I
to
think
so
I've
much
got
stuff.
one here.
Like,
I
it's
should.
so deep and so powerful, and it gives you. It goes hand in hand with AA. So all the principles behind it, it's everything from same stuff you would
It's heavy
learn
on
in AA.
meditation.
That's where I learned how to meditate. I didn't learn how to meditate through AA. I learned through Refuge, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Like, it helped me in so many ways. And I would recommend it to anybody, especially for that, like the emotional side of things. It literally it's a blueprint, right?
Mhm.
And it's all about the spirituality.
Nice.
It's awesome. So
Yeah. So emotional sobriety. We can if we relate it to the 12 steps, it's kind of like step 6 and 7. It's think of your emotions like when you're using, or when you're in the madness, or when you're early recovery is like this roller coaster, up down constantly, like always, never okay. And through step 6 and 7, we ask God to remove these defects of character, and these our shortcomings with the same thing. But and a lot of those are emotional things, a lot of insecurity,
yeah.
Low self-esteem, jealousy, all these kind of things. And there's levels to emotional sobriety, right? Just like with a lot of things, there's levels to it, right? And at the very foundation of it, the base level for me, I think this is a kind of an individual thing, So for me, emotional sobriety, its foundation is: am I okay with me? Am I okay with who I am in my own skin? If I look in the mirror, do I like and respect who I'm seeing? Because if I'm not, there's an issue.
Yeah.
That means there's something emotionally wrong with me if I don't like the person that I'm looking at. That means there's some shame, some guilt, some kind of ill feeling towards myself, right? So if I can get to a place to where, like Evan said, where I don't have all these highs and these lows, they're going to happen at times. But if I'm not constantly, teetering like that, if I've got, somewhat of a baseline, then I can function in society
Okay.
and in my life. I'm not too high, I'm not too low. I can deal with things as they come that way. So something bad happens, man, it sucks, but I'm not happy about it, but I have tools to deal with it now.
Yeah.
And I know how to deal with that. Where before it was something happened, it's like, let's burn this bitch down.
Yeah.
Like everything's falling apart. So that's kind of what emotional sobriety is for me.
Yeah.
How do I handle myself?
It's about being able to feel these things,
Right.
and not necessarily react to it. We
Yeah.
just are able to sit and feel it and understand it and let it come. But it goes to the impermanence. We let it come, and we know it's not going to last. So, and I believe that you say you don't know what it is, but I believe that
You've experienced
it
bit.
over this 4 years, and maybe you just don't see it.
Yeah.
Because when shit hits the fan in your life,
Mm-hmm.
you have all these women you can call and vent to them and talk to them. When in the past, what would Allie have done?
Flip the F out.
flip the fuck out, liquor store, dope
Get it,
man,
let's go.
let's
Mhm.
fucking rock.
Yeah.
But you don't react that way today. So you do have some emotional sobriety and you have some tools to put in place, and that's why I was saying for the refuge for me, all of these things, like Brian took it to step 6 and 7, which he's absolutely correct. But for me, what the refuge recovery did was it dives so much deeper in the book than what AA does.
Hmm.
I mean, we all know 6 and 7 in the big book is
2 paragraphs.
2 paragraphs. It's a very short section, right?
Yeah.
But when you go into refuge recovery, every you know
Breaking it down.
everything, it is so deep and it gets you going,
Yeah.
and it opens your eyes, and it gave me a lot more understanding of that type of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and we have to have emotional sobriety, not just when things are going bad. Like we have to have them when things are going well
Mhm.
as well, because that's when my ego and my pride can really get out of control if things are going too good in my life. And and it's like I start to lose some humility
Mhm.
and I start to forget who I am or where I came from.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, man, what the fuck I just did?
Yeah.
4 years sober. I did that shit.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do that shit.
Yeah.
God did that. I didn't do that. I have to keep that in check when things are going good, or you get a promotion, or someone's gassing you up a little bit, like, man, you're doing great. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, you're damn right I am. Like,
Mhm.
I'm killing it. It's like we have to have some emotional sobriety then as well, not just when things are going bad. So it's like I got to be able to check myself. Like, okay, let's not get a little too
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
sober
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
Over sober, But yeah, so
Well, one thing y'all have sparked something in me. So I think I've told myself, because I've listened to a lot of speaker tapes on emotional sobriety, and so I have this. I have a mother, of course. Everybody has a mother, and that's the hardest relationship in my entire life. It is something. It affects me on a daily basis. And I can see a little bit of progress within myself, as in, let me tell you, like last year, I would take the bait with that woman real
Mhm.
quick. Like, you're gonna say something wrong, we're getting it.
Mhm.
And
Go time.
yes, and and it bless her heart. She's just been used to that for so long. I've been sick for so long, and she needed me to be sick, and I needed her to help me. You know, but I say all that because that is I guess that's a thing in the back of my mind that I feel like I want to reach so bad. I pray about it so much, to be able to sit with that woman exactly how she is, in her negativity, in her, own trauma, in her own stuff, and just love her and accept her. And I struggle with that. Like, I find myself not wanting to go, or finding ways not to go. And she needs me. She's old. She's got a lot of issues. And, the right thing is we take care of our parents. And that's what I'm doing. But it's the most difficult thing that I have found right now for me. Like, I can go see my kids. I can go see people in AA all day long. But that woman, it's hard. And I want to be able, that is my emotional sobriety goal, is to be able to sit with that precious lady in all her negativity and let it just accept her. I've gotten a little better, but I guess that in the back of my mind, I've always said, I'll have emotional sobriety when I can do that.
Yeah, this is progress, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of almost like the roles have been reversed. It's like your daughter, like you're in your daughter's role,
Mm-hmm.
And that took time,
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason why it can't happen. Like, I don't know if it will or not, but there's steps that you can take towards that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might not just show up one day and it be there, but there's for sure things that are in your power that you can do to get closer
Absolutely.
to the goal. Like takes two to tango,
That's right.
but the first part in that is to realize that you're not going to change her.
Yeah.
Like you just have to control what you can control, and that's your actions, your reactions, and you keep doing what you're doing and just keep doing the work. And things will happen the way that they're supposed to.
I'm gonna keep
You know?
showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the number one way to ensure it won't happen is if you stop showing up.
Yeah.
So you just gotta keep showing up.
Yeah, and I just knew all of this stuff was just something I had to figure out, some kind of test I had to do. I never knew it was going to be this simple, the simplicity of life, the simplicity of the program and what we need to do in order to stay sober. It blows my mind. Even the little slogans, surrender to win and keep coming back and all the things that used to get on my nerves, like they mean so much to me now. And it's like telling somebody that's just coming in, I know it gets on their nerves too. I was you, I am you, and I'm telling you right now it'll change. But yeah, it still blows my mind to this day that, showing up is freaking 80%. Just showing up, just doing, just getting there,
bring the body and the mind will follow.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So consistency in anything in life, I'll take someone who's consistent over somebody that sprints out of the gate for a quarter mile but then gasses out. Like when we see that a lot, and when we sponsor people, it's somebody 1, 2, 3 relapse.
Yep.
1, 2, 3 relapse.
Yeah.
Like they come out the gate, it's like let's fucking go, and then then you got another guy who's like, okay, I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, and they keep going, and those are the people that stay sober.
Yeah.
Not that other people can't, but it's it's consistency. Are you going to consistently do the things that you need to do? But if you stop, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So that's where my mind was going with that.
Yeah, totally.
So emotional sobriety it's key. Because if I don't have emotional sobriety, this is just me personally. If I don't have emotional sobriety, I don't have sobriety, because then I'm just dry, and I'm miserable, and then I'm not drinking, but that's not really the goal.
Right.
Is to not drink. That's not the goal. The goal is to live my life, to participate in my life, to participate in my kids' life, things like that, participate in other people's lives. That's the goal. So if I don't have that, then what do I have? I'm just a person that's just not drinking today.
Yeah.
That's hell on earth.
That's
I
bad.
don't like that. That's not what I signed up for.
Right.
I signed up for the whole package. I want to be happy, joyous, and free.
Yes.
And that's a lot different than just not drinking one day at a time. Like white knuckling life. And sometimes I feel like we paint this picture that sobriety is going to just be this awful, arduous, just hang on, and there's days like that, like especially early on, there's days like that. But for me, and this is somewhat controversial, but I think there's a big difference between staying sober one day at a time and living your life one day at a time, because that's what our literature says. It doesn't say stay sober one day at a time. It says we learn to live life one day at a time. And if I've recovered, I've done the work, I've recovered, now I can just live my life. And there's things that I need to do to keep living my life, but I'm not thinking about using, I'm not thinking about not using. It's just not a thing for me, and that's what I signed up for. Because that was one of the first things that Josh told me was, dude, there's going to be a day when you're going to wake up and you're not going to think about alcohol anymore. And I was like, dude, where do I sign? It's like, that's all I need. Like, that's all I want. And then I got that and I was like, whoa, he wasn't kidding. Like, this shit's real.
Yeah.
It's real. And you brought it up. It's simple. Like, not easy, not always easy, but it's simple. And we've done things hard for so long.
Yeah.
It's like all we know is hard.
I'm uncomplicated, regardless.
Exactly.
I'm gonna make shit harder.
Yeah.
It's what I do.
Cornflakes, like I said.
Right.
It's like I could go over this little bitty hill, or I could climb this mountain. Which one do I want to do? Like to get from A to B, like you don't necessarily have to climb Mount Everest. Like you can make it hard. Like you can climb that mountain if you want to, but it's not necessary.
Well, it's just because that's what we're used to for so long. You know,
Sure.
we're used to living in the struggle.
Yeah.
So it's
You can't
out
be
of
this.
the it's out of the ordinary for
Yeah.
us to not be like, well, it just can't be this simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me fuck something up real
Yeah.
quick along the way.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah.
Yeah, another thing too, like, and this just recently happened to me too, and this I just kind of knew I was in a really good place, whatever that means. So I got this car, my first car loan
You
or
get that
whatever.
emotional sobriety.
I'm kind of connected the dots a little bit, thank God.
That's what it means.
But like, so I wanted to talk about chasing money, property, and prestige, right?
Okay.
Because, you think I don't want a fine ass car and a house and all the things, and yeah. But I've watched people, burn their life to the ground chasing that after years of sobriety. Very close people to me. So yeah, like I have this little car payment and a little car, and I'm happy with it. I don't like the color, but I don't really care because I'm telling y'all, God put it in my life. It's just beautiful. But anyway, so I get this thing in the mail, and they want to, Kia wants to give me a brand new car for my car down. And for a split second, maybe 5 minutes, I was like, you know what? I could do that. Maybe I should. No, I like my little life, and I like my little car, my little payment. Like, I don't want, and maybe in time, if that's what's given to me, okay. But right now, the simplicity of my life, I don't want more than I have. I'm telling y'all, I don't. I really am grateful for what I have. I have a small apartment that I'm paying for myself that I've never done in my life. A lot of people work jobs. That ain't my story. I was a hustler. I had sugar daddies. I lived off people, and I sold drugs. So, you know, having the things that I do, they're huge to me. But I don't want. I don't even know if I'm saying this right. I don't want to chase those things because everything I do have is such a perk. It is a perk to the peace that I have inside. That's what I've always wanted. The peace of being yourself and being okay with yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I I I definitely know what you mean. So I experienced that. Um, so I had some time sober, and then I took a new job years ago, and that's what I was doing. I got into sales.
Mhm.
I was making more money than I've ever made in my life. I was sober at the time, but very quickly money became what I was chasing.
Mm-hmm.
And the grind, it was just a daily grind.
Yeah.
And money, 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 I want more. But then it turned into now I need to make more money and more money because I'm now spending $200 a day on fentanyl.
Yeah.
And then that cycle went on for a while. So I had to, after my last relapse, when I went to treatment and I got out, I'm still with the same company, but I had to take a step back and I took a different position.
Wow.
Because I knew it wasn't, that lifestyle wasn't what I was chasing anymore. I wasn't chasing money. I didn't I didn't come up like my mom raised me. She always worked multiple jobs. She still does to this day. So I didn't like come from money.
Mhm.
My mom broke her back to provide and give us the things we needed.
Yeah.
And then if there was things we wanted, she went above and beyond to provide those things because she knew we wanted them. She tried to give us everything we wanted. Um, but for me, I never needed much, and so when I took that step back, and now I've gotten to the point to where, yes, we bought a house just in January, and I do have a car payment and stuff now, but I don't try to live this
Yeah.
luxurious life
Yeah.
beyond my
Mhm.
my means,
Right.
just like a I was listening to a speaker the other day, and I know I talked to Brian about it, and it you bringing that up brought it back to me, and it was multiple things, but the part that stuck out the most to me was that I wish you success sufficient to your needs,
Hmm.
and some
Wow.
failure to temper that along the way. So I'm that I was like, man,
I like that.
He's always got some good
success,
quotes.
but and I
But I
know I
remember
think I think I'd mentioned it before with when Joe was on, but that really like stuck with me because I'm like, my kids have it, they're fucking spoiled, and I think I want to do that for them too because, my oldest and my middle son, um, luckily my youngest son has never seen me in active addiction. The older two have. Um, Thankfully, my oldest is 11, so she wasn't exposed to a whole lot at the to where I don't think she really remember. I think she knows I'm in recovery now, but we haven't had that talk yet just because she's not dumb. She hears things and she's always watching. And I want to give them everything I can, and that I might be setting myself up for some shit down the road, but it's just, I look at that quote and I'm like, success sufficient to my needs. Like, and we have more than we need in reality, for my family. And it's all because of sobriety and this program and God and, everything that this thing has given me. So I definitely relate to what you were saying there about, being happy and content with our lives today. I can't take money with me when I go.
No.
It doesn't matter when I die. Yeah, I want to leave my kids something.
Sure.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm not taking none of that with me. So I just want to, I just want to live.
Yeah.
I just want to live today, and that's what we're doing, so.
Sounds
It's
to me
awesome.
like somebody has had a psychic change.
What?
So it talks about in the book about it talks about bedevilments, and it talks about we couldn't make a living. And what that means is like we're living beyond our means. Like it doesn't mean we can't have a job, or what are we doing with our money when we have it? So there's nothing wrong with having some ambition, wanting some nice things. But, we have an episode coming out tomorrow that kind of talks about this. Is like, where does my dependence lie? Like, so if I'm getting my happiness out of a new car, or something material, and I'm putting my dependence on how much money I make, and I'm making money or some kind of financial status, prestige, pride, something like that, my higher power, I'm setting myself up for failure.
Yes, sir.
Right? Because we can have those things, and that's totally fine. But are you content with them once you have them? Right? Or are you, that's where people get mixed up, where they start chasing, the nice car, the big house that they can't afford, the $1,100 truck payment, things like that, because they're trying to impress other people, or they think that it's trying to fill the hole that they have. And if we're spiritually fit, right, then yes, I can go buy a new car if it's within means, and I'm not coming from a state of discontent. Because if I'm coming from a state of discontent, then I'm already setting myself up, because I'm going to get that car, and that newness is going to wear off when that first car payment hits.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, why'd I buy this damn car?
Yep.
Like, man, I had a $200 car payment, and I got a $900 car payment. God, why did I do that? Yeah, I can afford it, but it takes every dime I have, and I got to work extra, and I got to sacrifice my time with my family, so I got to work extra, and we're doing all these things. And so there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing wrong with having some ambition and wanting nice things or wanting to better yourself. Like those are all good things. Those are all, ambition, like wanting to have those instincts met is a good thing. But it's when I demand more than my fair share, and I can't be satisfied with what I do get, and then it's like, well, what now? I keep moving the goalpost.
Right.
It's like, well, what now? Well, this ain't good enough. Now I want this.
Right.
And that just keeps going and going and going. Yeah. And then I end up in a place where I'm irritable, restless, discontent. And we all know what treats that: alcohol, drugs, and because when I'm chasing that, my dependence is somewhere else other
That's
than
my
where
God.
it's supposed to be. That's my God. And, things Not that those things are bad, but they're awful gods. You know,
Yeah, they
like
are.
same way
Yeah.
with fentanyl, heroin, alcohol. You know, it's an awful god. You know, and that's where my dependence lied. You know, and that's why I couldn't stay sober. It's because I'm putting all my faith, you know, into that. And you know, I just think it's good that you brought that up because I think that's something that people need to hear. You know, it's not that we can't have nice things. We can have nice things. We deserve to have nice things. If we're working hard, we deserve to, you know, have nice things. But at what cost?
Right.
You know, like why do I want these nice things? What's my motive? You know, almost everything comes back to our motives.
Doesn't it?
Like why am I doing this? Why do I need this? Do I need it because it makes sense, right? Like if my car's got getting high miles on it and I can trade it in and get something new for a payment that I can for sure afford, that makes sense, you know. But if it doesn't make sense, then but you know, we can twist it in our mind to where we can make it make sense. So that's where like you brought up earlier, like leading on that's where the fellowship really comes in because there's so much experience that we can get out of the people in the rooms that have been through what we've been through. You know, just think of all the experience we can get out of that room. Like, probably some of it's some pretty sick shit,
Yeah.
you know, but
Yeah.
probably some really good stuff too. You know, it's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, don't do that.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
sounds like a perfect idea
Yeah.
in my head. And then you say it out loud, someone's like, you really think that's a good idea? Like,
Right.
tell me your plan, please.
Yeah, like if I may, the women when we were talking about the women in sponsorship and just pick, you know, women period in the fellowship, you know, because not all the time do our sponsors answer. You know, I had a network of women that when I first got sober, and I didn't know, like I said, what the hell I was doing, and I just was scared all the time. And you know, I would call them and say, look, my kids want me to come over for, you know, Thanksgiving, and I don't really want to go. I don't know what to say to them, and blah, 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 blah. And they would say, just go. Just go. You don't even have to say anything. Just go. You know, those things, helping me do that and just listening. And then, you know, starting a job and wanting to walk out every single time something didn't go my way. I would call first, you know, I would listen and call, and they said, don't quit. We don't quit. We don't do that. You know, and I'm telling you, without those people, I would not be where I'm in today.
Mhm.
Listening to those women and the experience in the fellowship, and to this day, I still call them. You know, like, what about this? You know, I have learned that my own ideas alone could be dangerous. You know, some of them intuitively, I think I'm in a better place, but you know, a lot of them, I still bounce my ideas off when you know the women in my life because I think I know shit sometimes, and I know her. You know what I'm saying? And I don't.
Yeah.
My little crystal ball. You know.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing that you could know is that you don't know. You know, a lot of times it's,
Yeah.
you know,
I have a
it's
sticker on my desk that says that.
really,
Mm-hmm.
it's cool. All right, well, I guess before we wrap it up, big question that everybody wants to know. If you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, what goes on first? The peanut butter or the jelly?
Absolutely peanut butter.
Okay, what about you?
I guess peanut butter. Never thought about it. I guess peanut butter.
Okay, me too.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, it makes more sense to put the jelly on first. Or hold on, unless
Why?
Well,
do
I
you
do
put it
on-
all on the same side of the bread, or do you
well,
put it on,
I don't know, I
on
think
opposite
serial killers do that.
sides?
I put it on the same side.
Do you?
Yeah.
I've
so-
always done it on
So you're in the
opposite sides.
minority.
Right.
So that's probably the right way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, because then you don't have to worry about cleaning the knife, right? So, like if you put the peanut butter on first, then you have to clean it before you dip the knife into the bread. You know
I'm
what
a
I'm saying?
Oh,
savage. I
shit.
just stick it in there.
Oh shit.
But you know what I mean, though?
Yeah, I do.
Like, but if you put the jelly on first, but then you have to put the peanut butter on the other piece of bread because it won't smear on top of the jelly very
Right.
well. So you're probably right. You're probably right. So, that's just how my mind works. You know? I was thinking about that today. You know,
You probably also go like sock shoe.
no, I go with both socks and then shoes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like flip flops.
Okay. Perfect.
yeah. I never thought about it. It's funny how we like all these things are
Mhm.
ingrained in us. That goes with these patterns that we build, and we do everything the same way all the time. Like if you try to switch it up, it just feels weird.
Yeah.
Like I've never done sock shoe. Like, it just sounds insane to me. Then you got one naked foot. You got one fully equipped foot, and the other one's like naked. You know, I don't know. That's just not my. We did a whole episode about stuff like this. We're not putting it out because it got a little wild. But
It was funny. though.
yeah, that's just how my mind works. I'll just think about random shit like that sometimes. So,
I like it.
you know, so I don't know. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely. You know, this is good. We like to have the women in the fellowship on as well, you know, because we get a totally different perspective on, you know, how things go,
Yeah.
you know, or how you guys do things, and helps us learn things. And, you know, so yeah, thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank y'all.
All
It
right.
was awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Love is always the answer.